Welcome to the Imperfect Dads Podcast. This is your host, Devin. We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids, but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like. Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood and how they feel like they're holding it together or how they're not. Thank you for joining us for this episode. On this episode, we have on Chad Cochran. I found out who Chad is because of his photography of musicians I listen to. It was really cool to do a call with Chad and realize that that's a side hobby that he loves, but not his full-time job. On this episode, we talked about him almost being an empty nester, having adult kids, his love of photography, being published in Rolling Stone, going to concerts with his kids, his journey with therapy, normalizing the conversation about mental health, being diagnosed late in life with ADHD, and our shared love of music and parenting. And also just like one more thing.
Dad, just start the episode.
Oh, my bad.
Anyway, welcome to another episode of the Imperfect Dads Podcast. This episode's guest is Chad. Chad, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, of course. It was so funny to me. I did that episode with Ben Nichols the other week, and he forgot to tell me who had taken the photo so I could make sure to put the photo cred in the post.
Yeah.
And then I think I went to his page to do it, and I was like, "Oh, this is Chad. Chad's coming on the podcast in like a week or
excellent.
two."
Excellent.
So tell us just some basic stuff, like how many kids you got, ages, all that good stuff.
Yep. So I have 3 kids. My oldest is 23, lives in Milwaukee. My middle is 21 years old. He graduated a little bit early from Ohio State recently and is going to go to law school. And so because he graduated early, he's trying to pick up, obviously studying for law school, entrance test, LSAT, and he'll do that next fall. So he'll also start looking for schools. And then my oldest is 17 and she is a senior in high school.
Oh man, how's it feel to know that your youngest is about to go off to college? You've already got 2 that are kind of gone through that and everything. Have you even processed yet? Are you in empty nester phase or are you about to enter into empty nester phase?
So the joke I always used to tell my kids is that they would be able to tell their friends, like my youngest, I would say, you'll be able to tell your friends which house is mine because I'll have your graduation balloons tied to the for sale sign in the front yard. So I'd always kind of joked about that I would be, I'm going to sell my house. I'm going to go do whatever I want to do after you graduate. I don't know if that's entirely true now.
Sure.
I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but it's a weird feeling. It's, I'll be, let me make sure I have this right, 54 this year, in December.
Yeah.
And so it's weird to feel like I'm 54 years old because
Absolutely.
in my brain, I remember talking to friends early on and them, being in their 50s and being like, oh, no, your brain will still feel like you're in your 20s, your body won't. And, I've stayed in pretty decent shape, so I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's weird. It's definitely a weird vibe to realize that I'm at this stage of my life and, my kids are almost fully out of the nest. It's whatever that first check mark you have to do as a parent to say, okay, I raised them, I kept them safe, I fed them, I made, all of those things. And now that they're almost out the door, it's definitely, I can tell that I'm on the cusp of it being different.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the kindest way now to put it is okay, it seems like this chapter of life is about to close and now the next one is about to begin. But also that's a really long chapter of your life. That's a good 20 to 30 years of raising kids. And also you're not really fully closing the chapter because you're not suddenly not a dad just because none of them live at your house.
Exactly.
So that, oh man, my kids are 9, 7, and 4. So that whole mindset of hey, one day they won't live here anymore. I'm why? Why would they not be constantly near me and by me? How does that work?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I had a conversation last night with somebody and they have younger kids. And I was this kind of timeline that you go through with kids where they are fully dependent on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be there and give them or they don't survive. And your objective in those years is to provide them with a greater sense of independence and in providing them the opportunity, or not the opportunity, but the skills to be independent. And then they succeed.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's this, you've done what you were supposed to do, but you obviously want them to succeed, but it's also it's definitely it's like a finish line that I don't think any of us are like super looking forward to.
Well, I mean, like, because you like, it's impossible not to have your children become part of your identity. And part of that identity is this weird negotiation of at one point in time, if I do this correctly, you don't need me anymore. And there's
Right.
not like other parts of my identity where I'm like, hey, I play guitar. At one point in time, this guitar won't need me. Like, there's no other realm of identity where you're just like, I'm just going to give everything, be aware of all my faults, everything I'm good at, every aspect of myself, and then one just be like, cool, now go be
Right.
free
Exactly.
and act like that doesn't hurt. I don't know, or it isn't like a weird dance to do within your own self. What have you done like college visits with your youngest yet?
Yeah, it's interesting because my oldest went to Miami of Ohio. So I live
Yeah.
in
You live in
Cleveland, Ohio.
Ohio? Yeah.
And he went to Miami of Ohio.
Hmm.
The middle went to Ohio State, and the youngest has no desire whatsoever to stay in Ohio.
Okay. Yeah.
So she's looked at like University of Washington in
Very
Seattle.
far away. Okay.
She looked at schools in Boston. She's looked in
Yeah.
DC. I think Boston is her number one pick, like to go to a school there. So it's, yeah, again, very interesting. Just, and I'm without even watching like all of your past podcasts, like I know that it's always an interesting perspective to see that even though your kids all grow up the same, they all end up very, very different.
They do.
And it's, it's interesting to watch her very decisively say, yeah, I'm not going to stay in Ohio. Like I'm going to go somewhere else. And I'm excited to see, you know, how that affects her later in life, like how that, fight or not fight or flight, but the desire to like do something different is also pretty exciting.
Yeah. It's so I'm from Southern Indiana. Originally I'm from Evansville. And like, yeah, I went to Nashville for college. And I don't think I've lived in Indiana since I left high school. And it was very intentional of like, hey, I don't hate Indiana. I love Indiana. I love being from there. But I didn't see many opportunities that felt like I would grow if I stayed there. So there's also this like, as the kid, you do this weird dance of like, I love being from here. Do you want to live there? No. Okay. So, and learning how to say that not in a condescending tone. Cause like, yeah, people live in my hometown have great lives. And it's just, but I want different things. And learning how to communicate that respectfully, you don't usually do very well whenever you're in college or whenever you're in your early 20s.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are, all of us are incredibly different, and staying in our hometown is a perfect solution and a perfect fit for a lot of
Yeah,
folks, and for
it is.
others there is the, like I said earlier, like it's that flight, like they have a
Mhm.
desire to go and do something different, and that's what makes it great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you refer to it as the Ohio State for your middle child, or do you just say Ohio State? Just have to
So
ask.
I've not really acquiesced to that, like since they went that direction. Like I grew up in Central Ohio, so
Okay.
going to Ohio State games when I was
Yeah.
younger and referring to it as Ohio State if there's any level of indoctrination that happens when it comes to athletics, like if you grow up in Ohio, like maybe with the exception if you're in Northwest Ohio,
Yeah.
pretty assured to be an Ohio State fan. I would never correct somebody. That's
But
probably a
yeah.
better way to say it. Like I would never like raise my nose. I didn't go to Ohio State either. So,
Okay.
but I would probably not raise my nose and say, and correct somebody.
That's awesome. That's Ohio State has a very rabid fan base. So, I just had to ask, I feel like some people are like, no, it's the Ohio State. And I'm
Yeah.
like, good to know where you rest on that scale.
Yeah. And admittedly, like I am not like a big professional sports fan
Yeah.
at all. College football is really the only thing that I still watch.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that I'm a rabid fan. I always remind myself, usually like by August, that I'm not going to let a group of teenagers in a helmet and shoulder pads
Yeah.
dictate my mental or physical health throughout the fall.
Yep.
But I certainly try not to miss any games.
Yep. That's how I feel about Indiana basketball. I'm one of three kids. I'm the only one who didn't go to IU. And so like, but still it's ingrained in me of like, man, even like just to care and notice, have the alerts turned on my phone for every single game. And then question like, I'm furious on a Tuesday at like 9 p.m. because a 19-year-old missed a shot. And I'm
Yes.
like, this is dumb, Devin. You like,
Yes.
this is dumb.
I
Also,
am.
I'm glad you care, Devin, but what are you doing, man?
Yeah, I can unfortunately acutely relate to that.
I know. So tell me about like your main gig, because your main job is photography, correct?
It's not. I have
Oh,
a
cool. Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah.
yeah, I have a sales job that I've done forever.
Oh, cool.
I work in the food industry and have done that for about the last 6 years. And I sold exercise equipment of all things for almost
Okay.
20 years prior to that. Uh, but that's what I do kind of like during the day. And so
Yeah.
like the example I give is the company I work for is a pretty big company. And when I was interviewing with them 6.5 years ago, I initially came up with the name Cowtown Chad that I use online because I wanted like some level of anonymity because I didn't
Yeah.
want a other company to think I was moonlighting, and I wasn't even good enough to do any moonlighting at that point. And so I really tried to like completely separate it. But when I interviewed with this new company, I had told them, I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm a professional photographer. I do a lot of like stuff with music. And if I take PTO in the summer, I'm probably not going golfing or to the beach. I'll
Yeah.
probably be at a music festival over the summer. And so it was a different approach than I had taken at my past job.
Yeah.
And what was really interesting is that when they made the announcement for like that I had been hired, when they sent it out company wide, um, it said like, we welcome Chad Cochran to the company, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, and then it said, like, they were like, featured in Rolling Stone, guitar player, spin. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
They like fully embraced, like, okay, this is who this
That's
guy
awesome.
is. So that was a yeah, it was pretty cool to work.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, I don't know how the other company would have responded to it to begin with, but it was cool to like move into a new company and them kind of like fully embrace, like, okay, this is who you are, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I think that also probably shows like the cultural shift of like, I mean, I feel like my parents, it was like, this is your job. And if you talk about anything else, why are you, then you're out. So
Yeah,
like you also had to go through a shift of like, hey, it's okay. I have a life besides this job. Right. And you guys won't think I'm less than because of that. Because some companies would treat you like, and probably still do. If this job isn't 130,000 billion% from you, then
yeah,
why am I hiring?
yes, yeah. So I it felt much better for everybody involved to
Yeah.
be to have that level of disclosure
Yeah.
and put my hand in the air and say, hey, this is who I am, this is what you're going to get. But after like 6 p.m., there's a good chance I'll be doing something else in the evenings if I'm
Yeah.
not traveling for work.
Yeah. That's cool. That's also you should be as dumb as this feels to say out loud, if you've had pictures in Rolling Stone, that's pretty freaking cool. Like that should be something in which you should be able to be like, hey, by the way, like, because I'm sure you are in the form of disbelief of like, hey, I took some photos. Holy crap, Rolling Stone wants these? Holy crap.
Like I I'm in the process of putting this presentation together because I'm going to talk to the let's see if I can get the name of the organization, National Press Photographers Association at Ohio University.
Okay.
And I'm going to do that later this month. So I've been like putting together a new deck of
Yeah.
information about me and what I do. And I was trying to go back and find some like old photos from when I was like in high school, because in high school, my bedroom walls were completely covered in like metal posters because I grew
Yeah.
up a metalhead.
Yeah.
And then like one of like the next pages has like some of the magazines that I've been in, and Rolling Stone is always a big one for me. Like
Yeah,
that,
of
like I
course.
oddly like the first photo I had in Rolling Stone was like they were doing a portfolio on like when cell phone photography. So
Mhm.
like iPhone photography was like
Yeah,
kind of
like
taking off.
2008, 2009.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I had a photo in there for that. And then I've had music photos since then. And I have been a lifelong subscriber. Like
Yeah.
I used to have stacks of Rolling Stone magazines in my closet because I would save them and not throw any of them away. And so when I had my first like music photo in there, it would be really hard to have a conversation with football player Chad as like a 17-year-old kid
Yeah.
who is super into Metallica and, in Danzig and all these other
Yeah. Yeah.
bands,
Yeah.
to explain, hey, one day you're actually going to have pictures of like Americana,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
you don't even know what that is,
That wasn't a thing.
country artists that will end up being in Rolling Stone. And like that still is, it seems impossible to me. It seems really weird that has ever even
Yeah. But also really freaking cool at the same time.
super cool. Yes.
Also, good to know that like I feel like a lot of people talk about how like whatever music they listened to in high school, they still listen to today. And I'm always like, you should like, listen to newer bands. You should try out new things. Like maybe make the switch from metal to Americana or, like Texas dirt country, Lucera sounding music.
Yeah, I would definitely say that I am like I'm still a metalhead. Like I
Yeah, okay.
still, metal and punk and all that stuff, and I don't think that's probably ever going to go away. But I also like try to listen to new stuff. Like, I listen to obviously a lot of Americana because that's kind of like where I ended
Yeah.
up.
Didn't you just go to Americana Fest and do some photos? Didn't you just go
I
to Nashville like a week or two also?
I
Like,
did,
yeah.
yeah. Like I've been to Nashville a couple times this year, and like for Americana Fest, like I just really I don't even really participate in the festival anymore. I
Yeah.
used to, like I used to volunteer and do like live photography, but now I just set up shop in an Airbnb. I put up open appointments, people sign up for photos and they come to me.
Cool. Hell yeah, by the way. That's really nice.
It's so great. And and also I'm super lucky because sometimes I just kind of like, you know, fall into roses, like where
Mhm.
like accidentally just things turn out great. And I was doing portraits all that week. I had one of my buddies that I've known forever text me and he's like, "Hey, you're in Nashville, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm on the road with this artist and he wants to come over and get portraits later, but he's got something in the afternoon." And then he like texts me back, he's like, "Hey, do you want to go with us?" And I'm like, "What are you guys up to?" And he's like, "Oh, well, the Black Keys are having this private party and he's going to play it. Like, do you want to come?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
I got time.
yeah, I'll come." And it ended up being fine. Like, I've now been to Nashville and been doing this for so long that I get there and I immediately see like 5 people I know.
That's cool.
But I also get to see the Black Keys play to,
Yeah.
300 people in a
Yep.
little, in a little bar. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
That's not bad. There are
Uh,
worse ways to spend an afternoon.
Worst days to spend my Saturdays for sure.
That's right. How does this with like being a dad and everything, since your kids are older now and only one of them, I'm assuming only one of them lives at home. Cool. So does that mean like whenever there is a concert in town, like it's got to be a completely different scenario for you as a dad to go to a concert where like 5 years ago, I'm sure it felt different or a much different process to go to shows to take pictures. I'm sure now like your 17-year-old's like, wait, are you home? Like you're even around?
So it's interesting. So um I have taken this approach with them being in high school. Like I've tried to always put them first.
Yeah.
So unless it's like a day job where I don't have any choice and I have to be on the road, I
Yeah.
have to travel. If I miss something there, that's kind of out of my control. Some of the bigger things, like if I can't move a date, like Americana Fest or something,
Yeah.
and I have to be there like certain time.
Yeah.
But like my daughter plays soccer and she also
Mhm.
is on the dive team. My commitment to her has always been, if I am home, I will be at your event. And I always try to schedule things around that. But like talking about going to concerts, it certainly has changed.
Yeah.
Because like a really good, I have a couple funny stories
Yeah.
is
Please do.
suburban girls are listening to Americana music now.
What?
So
Oh, is it
they're
because of Zach Bryan and all those guys? Are they ushering people into the
it's
Americana eras?
definitely a huge influence in a lot of that
Okay.
happening. And it's like continued to spread.
Okay.
Um, and funny, I'll use that intro. So not last summer, but the summer before, we talked about it. She's like, "Hey, there's this stadium show that's going to be at Ohio State."
Hmm.
She's like, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Maybe." Like, who's playing?
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, it's Zach Bryan is headlining, and it's Turnpike Troubadours, Billy Strings,
Oh my
Charlie
God.
Cross, and I forget, maybe there's like one or two others."
Yeah.
And then she stopped and she goes, "Wait, are you going to go to the concert with me, or are you going to like work the concert?" And I'm like, "I am not going to work the concert."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I have enough relationships, not with Zach Bryan, but like everybody
Yeah.
else that I probably could have, sent an email or sent a text and asked for a favor.
Yeah.
But I'm like, "No, you and I are going to go and
That's
sit at a
cool.
concert and do
Yeah.
that." And so we have, like, I try to make sure that I am like being present's is really hard. Like I have ADHD. I got
Okay.
diagnosed way late in life.
Yeah.
And so like being present is not something I have a really strong foundation in. So I have to like really do that. So those kind of things where I'm like, I'm not going to take a camera. I'm not doing this. We're going to buy tickets. We're going to go do this. That's great. So to I shouldn't say it's great. It's the only approach that I can take to have the best opportunity to truly be part of something that's happening and not having my hamsters running in my brain, chasing squirrels or doing whatever.
Yeah. I feel like ADHD is the ultimate, like, is now, like, now it is a not common diagnosis. People are more aware of it. And I
Mhm.
do feel like there are a lot of people in their 50s who are like, have I had ADHD? Oh, that's what this is called. That's
Oh, I
why I
mean,
can't. That's what this is. Good to
so
know.
so it's interesting. Like I started doing so my father passed away about 7 years ago. 7 or 8 years ago. My mom passed away a few years ago. And like right after when my father died, I I had to almost put like it was like a business. Like he died. I'm like, okay, well, I'm the only kid.
Okay.
Here are all the things I have to do. Like it now becomes like a checklist. And I wasn't sure if like I had gone through the like grieving process
Mhm.
because I had to like do all of the work,
Yes.
to like
Yeah.
for end of life stuff. So when my mom passed, I'm like, okay, so one thing I'm going to definitely do is I'm going to start going to therapy.
Good. Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure that like I'm not a serial killer, that like I can process emotions, like I have the capacity to do this.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. So I did like the intake form, and this was oh geez, it must have been I guess 3 or 4 years ago now. And I remember like going into the first appointment, and she opened it with, "How long have you had ADHD?" And I was like, "Oh, that's that's not why I'm here. Like I'm
Yeah.
here to talk about my mom that just passed away. I just want to make sure that like how do I
Being
process those
healthy.
emotions?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, tell me about feelings." And she's like, "No, but like how long have you had ADHD?" And I was like, "Oh, I've never been like formally or like I've never had like a clinical diagnosis."
Yeah.
And she was like, "How do you stay employed?" And like because like through the process of like the intake form, there are I forget like there was like the hyperactivity part and the attention
Yeah.
deficit part, and I
Yeah.
score. I don't know that you want to score really high, but I had
You're
very
very good at
high.
this. You're very
Yeah,
good at ADHD.
yeah. It wasn't like confusing for her to make a diagnosis.
That's
It wasn't.
good in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah. And so we ended up spending like the first 6 weeks talking about that, uh, and so uh, the real answer is I live and die by a calendar. Like
Okay.
I have created all of these coping mechanisms that have worked for me, and I live and die by a calendar. So if you're in my calendar, I'm going to call you. Like this podcast in my calendar, have an alert. I will be on the podcast. If you want me to remember your birthday, I'm not the right guy. Outside of like my kids,
But yeah.
yeah,
I'm hoping there's some
yeah,
exceptions
yeah,
to
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But yes.
But like having that capacity to like just throw something in my brain and stick, that very rarely happens.
Yeah. I think this is actually a fascinating subject because I think all of us have coping mechanisms that work great. And then I feel like you get to, there's a, not a roadblock, there's an event that happens in your life in which that coping mechanism is like, I don't know if I can do that. Like, I'm done. I'm tapped out.
For
And
sure.
then you go to therapy and they're like, hey, by the way, have you ever thought of yourself through this lens? And you're like, no. But now that
Yeah.
I have, I can't unsee it.
Yeah. I talk a lot to a lot of people because I don't know if we're going to talk about this at all, but I have a
Yep.
mental health project that I do
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
And so I talk to a lot of folks about getting into therapy, like if that's the right thing for them. And I remember like pre-therapy, and I blame our parents a little bit for this, right? Because I think growing up, a lot of our folks told us that we're such a unique individual, right? That we're like, you are like a snowflake. There's not
Mm-hmm.
another person like you. And then you go to therapy, and like on the second meeting, they're like, you fall into this bucket, like very decisively, like with like, almost like you're on a factory belt. And you're like, no,
Yes.
no, no,
Nope.
yep, there you go. And so I kind of joke about that. I'm like, and that's kind of, my mental health project, which is called I Didn't Want to Tell You.
Yeah.
The objective of that mental health project was to normalize the conversation around mental health, have people have an opportunity to tell their stories. But the additional benefit of that is seeing that you're not alone. There's a lot of other folks that feel the same way. And I always feel like that's what therapy is. Like you have this preconceived notion that you are this just most unique, one of a
Yeah.
kind individual. And we're not. We're all, in a bucket, and it doesn't take a whole lot of effort for them to figure out which bucket you fit into.
Yep. Well, I mean, because it can be like, if you look at me and go like, hey, you're the only you that'll ever exist in the world. I think there's some truth to that, like, because you're a very unique DNA strand. There's a lot of like how you view the world is very unique and stuff. I feel that sentiment is either the most empowering thing or the most isolating and lonely thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And
Right. Right.
where I lean on that depends on the day. Some days I'm like, hey man, you got a voice, you're good. Go be something, go do something, like, oh, I'm empowered. Other days it's like, hey, you're the only one who views the world like this. And you're like, oh, that's
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah.
What do I do with
Yeah.
that today?
That is certainly another important thing for people to like. I feel like getting older and growing up, like my top thing is like to not be stagnant, like is to
Yeah.
have a higher level of awareness, to like continue to learn and continue to try to be a better human. And I think like having that level of insight
Yeah.
is what a sinking feeling if you don't.
Yeah. So did you start going to therapy in your early 50s?
Hmm. Yeah,
That
I think I was 50 if I remember right. I think I was
yeah.
50 when I got diagnosed with ADHD, so it must
Okay.
have been right around there.
Okay. Do you know of many other men who started therapy in their 50s? Because I feel like there's a stigma for people in their 50s or 60s to be like, I don't need therapy, blah, 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 blah. So for you to, and in your 50s, be like, hey, I need help. I need to figure some stuff out is like, I don't feel like common, you know?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Like,
Okay.
I wouldn't feel comfortable, like, giving a
Okay. Yeah.
feedback.
Yeah.
I don't really know the answer to that.
Yeah.
But for me, I will tell you that I kind of, like, saw this door, right? And so I
Yeah.
was like, "Okay, well, is when because my mom had, dementia, and so it was
Yeah.
like an inevitable thing, and that
Yeah.
those last couple years were,
It's a process.
feel that it's pretty miserable.
Yeah.
And so I had already like created this timeline that if, once she passes, I'm going to start doing some therapy. So I
Mhm.
had created this door that I was going to walk through no matter what. It's interesting though that, like the ADHD diagnosis, like once you get in there, you think you're going in for something else. And they're like, oh, but let's talk about childhood trauma, or let's talk about, anything else. Anxiety for a lot of people
Yeah.
is a huge thing. And so I will continue to say that finding the right therapist is difficult.
Yes.
Not everybody is fortunate enough to find the right therapist. And I have talked to several people who have gone through tens of
Yeah.
therapists trying to find the right one. But I still deeply believe that having somebody outside of your circle to confide in and provide information to kind of help you walk through whatever you may be going through is
Yeah.
better than.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the other helpful thing I know to say for it is like, to me, a therapist just makes you aware of your patterns. And that's what a lot of it is. And I mean, it literally seems like your therapist had read through your intake form. It's like, hey, do you know that this pattern usually means you have ADHD? And you're like, nope, just told you what I was doing
Yeah.
and never would have got that insight.
Right.
That's good to know.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, granted, when I got that diagnosis, literally, I keep a pretty small friend circle, and
Okay.
some of those folks I've been friends with since I was in high school, and they all looked at me like, "What do you mean you didn't know? Like, what did you think it
You're
was?" Like,
working a full-time job sprinting to go take, do you sit still? Like, what did you
right,
think?
right, yeah. I mean, that was literally it. They're like, "What else did you think they were going to say to you?" I'm like, "But I never had like somebody actually say it. It's like
Yeah.
having a broken arm and it very visibly being broken, but nobody ever told you it was broken. It was
Yeah.
that obvious
It
to a
was
lot of
that. Yeah. Yeah.
people."
Yeah. I do think, just to relate to you on this also, whenever I was younger, I thought labels were always a bad thing. Like being able to be like, oh, well, you can't label me as an ADHD person because that's bad. And it's like, what actually, and now as an older person, I'm like, oh, that just means I open up the door to help. That's all the label means is people now maybe they understand me a little better. They know how to interact with me. And like a diagnosis in some cases just opens up the door to a different language that you didn't know you knew that you needed to speak.
I mean, I can say that like having an ADHD diagnosis, and it too is a spectrum, right? Like, so some
Yeah.
people are very much on one end or the other of it.
Yep.
But it has helped me tremendously. When someone else tells me they have ADHD, I will sometimes say, "What kind?
Yeah.
Like what do you do? Like tell me like how does that affect you?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And oftentimes that will also, I guess it's like getting to know anybody any other way, but like having that piece of information and knowing like what kind of ADHD they have
Yeah.
also helps in the relationship with that person, because you can immediately start to set some expectations
Yes.
and also know where you can be softer, and maybe, where you can be more direct and those
Yep.
kind of things.
Yeah, because it's I don't know. I mean, I feel like most of learning friendships and relationships is what are the limitations of this friendship? Like, is this a level of, can I expect you to care about this to some extent? And then you have different friends for that reason. But like learning the limits of your friends and their abilities is like a healthy thing to do that you should never take personally. But I feel like earlier in life, I was like, oh, you can't help me with this. And it's like, yeah, man, they told you their boundary. Like, you're
Yeah.
okay. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Fully agree.
So I'm going to start wrapping down. How I end every episode is ask every guest a series of 5 questions. They're kind of like fun icebreaker questions. So the first question is, did you have any backup names for your kids? Like, did you have any names you almost named your children?
So do you know the skit on Saturday Night Live where I forget who the characters are, but it was like, I'm not going to think of this well, but I was incredibly particular about the names.
Okay.
I grew up with the name Chad Cochran. So take that for what you will.
Middle school boys are so kind.
Horrible, right? Like all of my kids, we all have like I can only imagine like growing up how I did. But there was a skit on Saturday Night Live, and they're like trying to pick out names, and they would say something like, "Oh, what about Pat?" And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, Fat Pat." And
Yeah.
and then I think the end of the skit is something like a pizza delivery for Mr. Asswipe. And the guy's like, "It's Asswipe." So like having this last name, I've always been highly
Aware
of like the gravity that it can hold. And so no, all of the kids, I wanted to make sure that, so none of the kids really have names that rhyme. So like that was like a weird thing that I had. So I think maybe like middle names we kind of went back and forth on, but for the most part, it was.
I feel like that's normally whenever you have an older sibling, what they're good for is to be like, hey, this is what I'm going to name my kid. Make fun of it. Tell me all the ways
what
am
I missing here from like a 10-year-old?
From a 10-year-old piece of crap boy standpoint,
Right.
What am I missing here?
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. Okay, next question. Who is your like favorite TV or movie dad? Or do you have one?
So like I never say this to make it sound like I'm holier than thou, but I don't really watch that much television.
Okay, yeah. You can do a book also. More just like, is there a fictional character of a dad that you've always been like, oh, that's a dad?
What's terrible is like I immediately think of The Sopranos, and I'm like, I'm not really sure.
You're not. Listen, people have said Walter White before. It's okay.
Really?
Like,
Okay.
Yeah, so you can get as dark and cynical as you want on this podcast.
Yeah. I don't know that I really have one. Like I don't.
Okay.
Like it's weird. Like I feel like reflexively, I usually have like an answer right away.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I like,
okay.
There's something that immediately lands.
I'll do a backup question. I know you just said you don't watch a lot of TV, but I'm still going to see if you have an answer for this. Whenever your kids were growing up, was there a TV show that they watched all the time or a movie that you hated? Like, do you have a least favorite kids TV show or movie?
That's super easy to answer. Like that's not even like, you even have to get the question.
That one you have a long list for?
Yeah. It was mostly the Wiggles. Like
Okay.
Because it became like a fascination of theirs. So not only did we watch Wiggles TV shows, which is great because it got him into music a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
But I also like had to go to Wiggles concerts, and
you lived the Wiggle life afterwards.
I did. Like there was I definitely had made some investments in Wiggles stuff for a while. So at least that much I'm thankful that the kids are old.
That's fair. There is always like at least one thing where kids are like, this is my whole life now. And you're like, sure, this brings you happiness. This isn't hurting anything, but I'm good. And if this phase could end soon, I would be very appreciative of that.
Yes, very much so.
Okay, next question. You probably don't have one anymore, but do you have a go-to replacement curse word? Like whenever your kids were younger, you stub your toe in the house, you want to scream a word, but you know you probably shouldn't scream a bad word. What word would you say? Would you do sound effects? What would you do in that scenario?
So it's interesting is that I never swore around.
That's impressive.
I typically talk like I'm a truck driver. Like,
okay, yeah.
To the point that I have to like catch myself now. It's that bad.
Yeah.
But I didn't swear around my kids until like maybe my daughter was 14.
Okay.
Like a few like slip ups. Gloves are off now. And
they're fine.
And they all swear freely.
Yeah.
I don't like, I'm sure that they could probably tell you a lot faster than I can.
So
Like,
like someone would cut you off in traffic and you just go, hmm.
I think I probably just like made a noise. That was probably
Yeah,
like
yeah, sound effect. I do sound
yeah,
effects more
yeah, it
than
was definitely
words.
like probably like but with some strength behind it, and intentionality. I'm
Yes.
sure that it was that. Yeah, probably like trying to like
No.
defuse the bomb that was coming out of me without swearing.
Yeah. Well, I always know I usually do sound effects because if I start to say a word, I'm gonna say the word I intend to say. So
Yes.
it's more prone to go or something like that, as opposed to fudge,
Yeah.
fiddlesticks.
Right.
So okay, next question. Do you have a favorite activity that you do with your kids? This is gonna be like current or whenever they were kids. Is there like a toy or activity you used to really love doing with your kids?
For sure. Like we we haven't done it for a long time because they're all older.
Hmm.
But I still like one thing we used to do is we used to go out and we would throw the football or we would throw baseball. And so it was like it was that whole like having a catch thing. And I always give that example because I also have like tried to be more emotionally available to my kids. And I remember one time that we watched Field of Dreams
Yeah.
and they like at one point where he says, "Hey, Dad, you want to go have a catch?" Or however he addresses him and says, "You want to go have a catch?" And I'm just like completely bawling, like just a complete mess.
Yeah.
Sports is just like one of those things that was always close to me growing up.
Okay.
And so yeah, like if I had a choice of an activity, it would definitely be like going outside and like playing catch with a baseball.
That's awesome. That's cool. And then last question is what's like if you ever think of like a piece of parenting advice you would normally give someone?
Yeah, so I think this is going to be. It's kind of like when you're in a relationship. Like I kind of think of it that way, where
Yeah.
as a parent, I think the objective is to provide to your kids maybe what you did get as a child, but also the things that you didn't get as a child. Like you want to, it's kind of like you want to strive to be what would have when you were younger, like maybe an ideal, air quote, ideal parent. So I try to do that. But I also like one of the things that I am a huge proponent of is saying you're wrong. I don't
Yeah.
think enough people,
Yeah.
especially in today's age, are willing to admit that they don't know something or willing to admit they're wrong. And they
Hmm.
somehow process that pretty ugly. And so there was like when I was younger, I kind of only knew what I knew. My dad was a yeller. I did a lot of yelling when I was younger, when
Hmm.
I was parenting. In the last few years, I've been able to have those conversations with the kids and go, "Hey, when you were younger, I used to yell a lot. That wasn't what I should have done.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know how to express emotionally how I was feeling. I didn't know how to really work through being angry
Yeah.
without and having the skills to actually have a conversation about it, as opposed to just kind of like exploding.
Reacting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's a big thing. Like, I think that
Yeah.
it's continually making a safe space for your kids, right? Like, I talk a lot about mental health. What I do, I try to continue to instill that into my children as well, like, try to make sure
Yeah.
that they have a comfortable place. But my biggest thing would be like, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to
Yeah.
do something incorrectly, just as long as you take the time to address it sometime shortly after it happens.
Yeah. And that's honestly that's like I know people who say like, oh, dads are able to spend more time with their kids. They're prioritizing their physical presence with their kids. But the other thing that I don't feel like is talked about is a lot of dads are willing to have that conversation. The whole conversation of going back to your kids. It's like, hey, when I did this, I shouldn't have acted like that. And I need to be better. And here's what I was thinking whenever that happened. Here's why I acted that way. And I'm not trying to justify myself, but just know I'm trying to get better. And here's why I acted like that. Next time I need to be better because I shouldn't act like that around.
Yeah, it's huge. I think it's just like that's all like kind of like doing a callback to what I said earlier about growth. Like this
Yeah.
is like that's the objective. As we get older, as we
Hmm.
learn, we have to grow. And I think it's really important for our kids to see that also. So they know that later in life, if they
Yep.
choose to become parents, they too can, take some of those positive habits, for their family.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, I always just think of it of like, no matter how old your kid is, it's still a relationship you're building with them. If I have a relationship with a friend who never apologizes and never think they did anything wrong, I don't want to be around that person.
Right.
So,
Right.
like, this is also a relationship with your children.
Yes.
Make it a good one. Make it one they want to be a part of. Make it one you want to be a part of. Like, it's you hold a lot of hats, you have a lot of responsibilities as a parent, but like, you can also build a good relationship foundation with them. Why not?
Yes. Absolutely.
So, so Anyway, only other thing for you, it's just moment for self-promotion. If we want to like follow your Instagram, see some of your photos, like, you know, all that good stuff, how to connect with you, how to follow you.
Sure. Even though my name is Chad Cochran, I have either fortunately or unfortunately chosen the name Cowtown Chad on all social media. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, even TikTok. On TikTok, I'm on there and I talk a little bit about music on TikTok. So if anybody wants to follow me on any of those, and then I'm also at cowtownchad.com, and that's where you can find me online.
Sweet. Awesome. And thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. I'll follow up with an email, and I appreciate your time, Chad.
You bet. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you for listening to the episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at the Imperfect Dads Podcast, and make sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to us, such as Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. The music is provided by the Wild Feathers, and all episodes are produced by me. Make sure to tune in Mondays for new episodes.